Good day, everyone. This is Engineer John KJ Okan, and we are going to discuss Sustainable Development Goals 14 to 17, the last SGD. Let me share my screen first. Hold on. There. SGD 14 is all about life below water. SGD 15 is life on land. 16 is all about peace, justice, and strong institutions. And then the last SGD is partnerships for the goal. Okay, just a quick recap or snapshot of where we are right now in the Philippines. For SGD 14, we had enough data to say that we are progressing in this particular SGD. Thankfully, we are on a good spot on the last four SGDs that we will be discussing. For 14, we have become better on, we are progressing since 2000 with regards to our initiatives, our movement, our support with regards to life below water. As for um, life on land, which is SGD 15, no progress but no regression. Actually, there's no movement at all. Okay. And then for SGD 16 and 17, we don't have enough data yet to really say that we are progressing, but based on the submitted data alone, we have already made progress since 2000 with peace, justice, and strong institutions, as well as partnerships for the goal. Okay. And again, I always repeat this in our discussion that the Philippines ranked 95 out of 163 countries for the achievement of sustainable development goals. Okay. Let's start with SGD 14. I'll play this video for you.
Conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. The sea isn't just that paradise where we can get lost and rest. Oceans and seas regulate climate, produce oxygen, and give us food. Moreover, they generate employment for more than 200 million people. They are fundamental to counteract climate change, absorbing 30% of the CO2 we produce. However, pollution and destruction of its habitat damage submarine life and our own. And the increase of climate disasters is directly related. We have to stop it. Afroz Shah started one day and hasn't stopped until he created a revolution. This young lawyer of Mumbai acquired a house on a beach that he found filled with waste. He wanted to act decisively, and he encouraged his 84-year-old neighbor to clean and shared his work in social media. A multitude of volunteers, from students to Bollywood stars, united for the cause. Until now, more than 4,000 tons of waste have been taken from the 2.5 kilometers of beach. What started as a small action has saved a part of the ecosystem. In 2016, Shah was named Champion of the Earth, Inspiration and Action. Do you want to start your own little revolution? 1. Reduce as much as possible the use of toxic substances, plastics, and non-biodegradable materials at home and at work. Eliminate the use of plastic bags by using fabric bags. 2. Never buy forbidden products such as coral jewelry, shells, or products derived from sharks. 3. On the beach, pick up your waste. Educate your children and organize cleaning excursions. 4. Shop for safe and sustainable fish products. Avoid species in danger of extinction, such as red tuna, or those captured with methods such as drag fishing. 5. Practice aquatic sports, such as scuba diving, kayaking, submarine fishing, or surfing in a responsible way. And always take care of the environment. The ocean wouldn't be the ocean without all the drops that create it. Let's unite our forces.
Okay, so that's SGD 14 summarized in 2.5 minutes. Okay, so si SGD for SDG, Sustainable Development Goal 14, refers to what do you call this? Refers to life below water. Okay, and its aim is to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. And if we're going to talk about specific targets under this SDG, it encompasses other sustainable development goals. We have climate action, we have responsible consumption, which was shown in the videos as to how you can help, so by saving our oceans by consuming responsibly is also one of the things that you can do to help. But what I'd like to emphasize about SDG 14 is that together with climate action, this calls for immediate um, response from different countries participating in the United Nations global goals. Okay, so that's why some of their targets are dated by 2020. So we know that the Sustainable Development Goals should be achieved on 2030, but there are some specific targets under SDG 14 that should be met by 2020. So that was 3 years ago na. Okay, so by 2020, we should prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from mga land-based activities, including mga debris, mga marine debris, mga microplastics, and even nutrient pollution. Okay, by 2020, one of the targets still of SDG 14 is to manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems to avoid significant adverse na mga impacts, including pag-strengthening sa resilience at marine resources or coastal ecosystems, and to take action for the restoration in order to achieve healthy and productive oceans. Okay. Also, by 2020, we should have regulated na harvesting and mga overfishing activities or even mga illegal, mga unreported o unregulated fishing and destructive ng mga fishing activities. Okay? And also, implementation of mga science-based management plans to restore fish stocks in the shortest time feasible to at least to levels that can produce the maximum sustainable yield na makaya po consume sa population as determined by their biological characteristics. Also, we should also consider the biological behavior characteristics of these marine resources that we are consuming. Okay, by 2020, we should also at least conserve 10% of the coastal and marine areas consistent with national and international law and based on the best available scientific information. Okay, by 2020, we should have prohibited na all forms of fisheries subsidies which contribute to overcapacity and overfishing. So kana ipang-eliminate na siya nga mga subsidies or subsidized program because it's illegal. Okay? And then, ang last na target is kani by 2030 na, we should have increased the economic benefits of small island developing states and at least developed countries from sustainable use of marine resources, including through sustainable management of fisheries, aquaculture, and tourism. The goal is to ensure the conservation and sustainable of the use of our oceans, seas, marine resources, balancing the economic and social benefits derived from oceans with the need to protect and preserve our marine ecosystems for future generations. Okay. So the tagline of SDG 14 Life Below Water is to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. So what are some of the initiatives that several countries, including the Philippines, has done to achieve our targets under SDG 14? So number one, we have mga marine protected areas na in place. Okay, so we have already established and managed MPAs or marine protected areas to conserve marine biodiversity, protect mga vulnerable ecosystems or marine life, and also to promote sustainable fisheries. We have already established that. Okay, we also have mga sustainable fisheries management, implementing mga science-based fisheries management plans, pag-promote og mga responsible fishing practices, combating illegal, unreported, or unregulated, we call them IUU fishing through improved monitoring and enforcement. So you also have reduction of marine pollution, mga policies and programs to reduce land-based sources of marine pollution, including the wastes on microplastics, chemicals, and other pollutants, and promoting the adoption of mga sustainable waste management practices. Okay, nasa tayo mga ocean acidification mitigation activities, programs, or policies which supports research and initiatives to minimize and address the impacts of ocean acidification, including measures to reduce carbon dioxide emission and enhance scientific cooperation among different stakeholders. Okay, we also have sustainable tourism. It's pretty obvious na what we have been doing in our marine-based or ocean-based na mga tourism. it involves mga sustainable tourism practices that minimize the negative impact on marine ecosystem, including pag-raise of awareness about the importance of marine conservation, not just the water bodies itself, but the marine life or biodiversity in the ocean or the seas. Kanang magkuhan mo butanding daan na rin mga specific areas nga dili mo pwede manghilabot nila, pwede mo take a picture, but they are species that are protected by law nga di mo dapat buhat of certain things to them. Mga responsible scuba diving activities, kayaking, gato ang gi-mention sa video. So we have already have policies at place. Ipang regulate na ang kanang mga water activities, for example, to be responsible and sustainable in their ways of how they implement their business. Okay. You also have sustainable aquaculture. This involves encouraging sustainable aquaculture practices that minimizes environmental impact, supporting livelihoods also for coastal communities. Okay, and public awareness. Pinaka obvious is public awareness and education, raising awareness about the importance of marine conservation and sustainable use of marine resources through education, mga public campaigns about the importance of marine conservation, and mga community engagement initiatives. Okay, so yan siya. If we're going to look at mga quick lang statistics, 26% there has been a 26% increase in ocean acidity since pre-industrial industrialization time. So it is expected na mo-raise pa niya by 100 to 150% by 2100, by the year 2100. So the ocean has become more toxic, more toxic as the time goes on. I know it's not funny, but it's an alarming factor. It's an alarming value to look at because if grabe na acidic ang ocean, it might not be a suitable area anymore for marine life to dwell. And we all know that some of our food sources, or majority of our food sources, come from marine life. So it has become a really a pressing problem. 104 out of 220 coastal regions improved their coastal water quality, which is a good thing. And more than double of our marine areas has been protected, or katong nanatay increase of 70% sa ato mga marine protected areas. Okay, you can review these statistics later on when I share this material, but basically those are everything that you need to know about SDG 14, life below water. Okay. Also, what happens on say mga status na to before and after COVID-19 or the pandemic, global pandemic, or what has say effect niya sa ato ang waters. Okay, next is SDG 15. I'll share a video for us to look at.
Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halve biodiversity loss. Forests and mountains are the main source of food. They provide air and clean water and constitute the habitat of millions of animal and vegetable species. They are indispensable. As well, around 1.6 billion people depend on forests for their subsistence, but they are threatened by our activity. Each year, 13 million forest hectares disappear, and 22% of species known as animals are at risk of extinction. Can you imagine having to describe to your children and grandchildren what the forests were like? That should never have to happen. Something very valuable is at risk. We should boost the use of sustainable terrestrial ecosystems, mainly through the fight against deforestation and soil degradation. It's our responsibility to repair the caused harm. The inhabitants of the Madhya Pradesh state of India have beat the world record of tree planting, 66 million in 12 hours, not more or less, from students to governors years, everybody was involved in the reforestation of a very harmed area, as well as entering the World Guinness Record Book. In the Paris Agreement, India committed to recover 95 million hectares of forest before 2030. Its government has invested more than 6 billion in achieving that aim, but it must be fast. India is one of the most polluted countries in the world. Did you know that you can help to save our forests? 1. Try to make your bank transactions online instead of using printed receipts. Avoid paper cups. Print double-sided. Less consumption of paper means less harm for the forest. 2. Use alternative materials to wood, such as Duralumin, made with nutshells, hemp, or straw. 3. Convert into a principal the FSC certificate. Let's keep on encouraging the responsible management of our forests. 4. When finished reading this, plant a virtual tree. Social networks and web foundations distribute a lot of campaigns of this sort. 5. Take care of the forest through environmental volunteering, a great educational and healthy activity for a world with plenty of trees and the possibility of breathing calmly.
Okay, so that's SDG 15 in a 2 minute time frame. Okay, so see SDG 15 refers to life on land with the aim to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage our forest, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. Okay, together with SDG 14 and climate action, we also have mga urgent targets under SDG 15, which includes the insurance of conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of terrestrial and inland freshwater ecosystems and other services, in particular atong mga forests, wetlands, mountains, and drylands, in line with obligations under international agreements. Okay, there should, by 2020, countries should have already policies and programs in place in line with our obligation under international agreements with regards to the protection, conservation of our terrestrial and inland freshwater ecosystems. So dapat nanataan na even mga government agencies, LGUs, or committees in the government, na siya dapat in place under the protection of our terrestrial ecosystems. For ang iyang jurisdiction is really under terrestrial ecosystem. So dapat nanata yung mga agencies. So nanata, actually, it's the DNR. So we have already done this. And dapat all countries should have their own agency na to protect our terrestrial ecosystems. Also, together with that target, by 2020 SAD, we should have promoted and implemented sustainable management of all types of forests. We have already halted deforestation ng mga activities, or if we have deforestation activities, this must be regulated by the agency kung asa lang ito pwede hilabtan ng mga terrestrial areas or ecosystems. Okay, we also should have restored mga degraded forest and substantially increase the afforestation and reforestation. So by 2020 sad kaning urgent nga mga targets, we should have ensured the conservation of our mountain ecosystems, including their biodiversity, to enhance their capacity to provide benefits that are essential for sustainable development. We also have the introduction of measures to prevent the introduction and reduce the impact of mga invasive mga alien species on land and water ecosystems to control or eradicate the priority species. Okay, so maunang dili ta magpataka-taka o for example natin mga marine life diha ang mga fish nga pataka lang ninog labay return sa sea or return sa mga swamp or sa mga rivers, so di na siya inana kadali kung magbutang mo diha o specific lang mga fishes or mag-let go mo diha o mga different animals kay feel lang ninyo ibalik sila sa biodiversity. So there is a proper practice for that. You should be familiar kung sa ang mga species nga pwede ninyo ibalik ana nga particular place. So kana We should also have taken urgent and significant action to reduce the degradation of natural habitat, halt the loss of biodiversity, and protect and prevent the extinction of mga threatened mga species. Of course, we should identify unsa naman ato ang mga species nga really threatened na for extinction and dapat ipang protect na nato nga mga species. Okay? By 2030, we should have combated mga desertification activities, we should have restored na po mga degraded land and soil. That's why in our agriculture practices, as much as possible, we should use organic materials sa to ang mga soil, especially if mag fertilizer ta diha, because it degrades if inorganic or synthetic ang mga material nga gipanggamit diha, it would degrade the quality of the soil, which would lead on to drought or desertification or even flooding ng mga problems. Okay? So muna siya ang SDG 15. So ito ang mga initiative, actually have been numerous initiatives globally or taken up globally to combat the negative effects that is being done to our land. Okay? So number one, natin mga afforestation activities or programs para ibalik ang mga degraded na mga forest. Number one, we also have mga sustainable forest management, the promotion of sustainable forest management practices, including responsible logging, we also have reforestation and protection of forest biodiversity. So in technology-wise, maybe some of you will develop a technology nga nasa tracker sa mga trees para makabaw ang agency nga nang hilabot ani nga mga trees right now, mga vibration nga mga sensors, I don't know, nga para makadetect siya or makasignal siya sa mga offices nga nang hilabot ani nga area, because one of the major problems that we have here in the Philippines is detection. Di gyud ta makadetect nga nanay nang hilabot ani nga area unless obvious na nga naanay nang hilabot nga upaw na ato ang mountains. So na or naanay ni report to diha pa ta makabaw. Wala na, it's too late for us to counter the issue. Okay, mura na tag na band-aid solution na lang, dakpunto ang kuan, but wala na, it's already too late na naupaw na ang kuan. So early detection systems, if you are into this, to this initiative, maybe you can propose mga early detection systems for this particular problem for sustainable forest management. So kana. We also have mga protected areas and biodiversity conservation, so DENR na siya mga gipang-protect nga terrestrial ecosystem and even mga protection of endangered species. So nanataan na land restoration and soil conservation, which implements project focused on land restoration, soil conservation, and the rehabilitation of degraded land to improve mga soil quality para magamit pa siya for healthy farming. So farming helps also good health and well-being, di ba? Encompassed siya sa katong SDG. Combating desertification, mga initiatives aim to combat desertification through sustainable land management practices, soil conservation measures, and restoration of degraded land in arid and semi-arid regions. Okay, so nasa tayo mga community-based conservation projects, mga community-led conservation projects that empower local communities to actively participate in biodiversity conservation and sustainable land management efforts. We also have wildlife protection and anti-poaching measures, which supports mga anti-poaching initiatives, wildlife protection programs, and law enforcement efforts aimed to reduce illegal wildlife trade and protecting our endangered species. Okay, so some of these initiatives or the initiatives that I've mentioned are crucial in addressing the challenges related to biodiversity loss, deforestation, land degradation, and unsustainable use of land, which is basically the problem of SDG 15, to achieve our goals for SDG 15, okay, which is the conservation of terrestrial ecosystems worldwide. Okay, so we'll look at lang mga statistics about SDG 15. 10 million hectares of forest are destroyed every year. So imagine, saka dako ang mawala every year sa ato ang terrestrial ecosystem. And then almost 90% of global deforestation is due to agricultural expansion. So because of we wish to produce more food, or maybe because taas na ang population, dagko na ang consumption sa mga tao, we should be having more agricultural land. So mo nang daghan ang agricultural expansion due to kana overpopulation siguro, or dili na balance ang atong consumption. So mauna, or maybe gipanghimo ng subdivision, simple joke. Gipanghimo ng subdivision, so kana. Okay? So yeah. 133 parties have ratified the Nagoya Protocol, which addresses access to genetic resources and their fair and equitable use. Okay, so there are specific genetic resources, especially sa itong mga wildlife species, ang gipang protect under the Nagoya Protocol. So muna siya ang Nagoya Protocol. And it has been prohibited na ang trade of these genetic resources or illegal usage of these genetic resources. Kaya mga mag-crossbreed, for bioengineering, issue of bioengineering ng mga activities or biotech ng mga activities to combat mga unethical usage of genetic resources. Okay, so around 40,000 species are documented to be at risk for extinction over the coming decades. So daghan na ang mga wildlife species nga under risk na for extinction ng mga wala na, or future generation might not be able to see them now or to know. In fact, kita right now, okay, daghan na mga species before nga wala ta kabaw, okay, because they have gone extinct, and there are 40,000 pag yun in the future nga dili na makita sa future generation. So it's also a problematic way to look at it. Okay, I'll leave the other kuan na lang to everyone to review once I share the material, but mo ni siya ang mga global statistics about what's happening under SDG 15. Okay, next is SDG 16.
Everyone deserves to live in a world that is peaceful and safe, where human rights are protected by law, and where we can count on our governments to function. We all have a role to play in helping the UN reach their goal of peace, justice, and strong institutions everywhere by 2030. Did you know that there are many ways to define peace? Some define it as just the absence of war and violence. This is known as the negative definition. But others define it positively, a feeling of safety and stability, knowledge that our voices matter, and trust in our fellow humans. Sometimes our definitions are impacted by our own cultural identities and past experiences. How would you define peace? But not everyone in the world feels safe and secure. Nations wage war on each other and sometimes themselves. War can end the lives of people and also destroy the institutions we count on, making life feel unstable. Crime is on the rise, but many citizens don't trust governments to address the root causes of crime. And many people, kids especially, also experience interpersonal violence, whether it's domestic abuse at home or ongoing bullying at school. But progress is being made worldwide. In fact, many claim that we are currently living in the most peaceful time in human history, but there is still much to be done. Through the Black Lives Matter social media campaign, activists across the US are demanding justice and accountability from police forces. In Northern Ireland, where Catholics fought with Protestants for civil rights during the Troubles, projects like Hope for Youth are bringing children together to encourage cross-community friendships and build reconciliation. It's possible to achieve peace, justice, and strong institutions everywhere in our lifetime. Together, we can make the world a fairer place for all.
Okay, so that's SDG 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institution. Si SDG 16, ayang emphasizes the importance of creating stable, peaceful, and just societies that provide equal access to justice and promote the rule of law. Okay, so it recognizes the significance of accountable and transparent institutions in ensuring sustainable development and fostering inclusive and participatory decision-making process. Okay, so achieving SDG 16 is crucial for establishing a foundation for sustainable development that promotes equality, which encompasses reduced inequalities, SDG 10, and katong other inequalities in education, access to public safety and health, access to gender equality in the workplace. So kana tanang inequality problem dapat na foundation under SDG 16. Okay? And also security for all individuals and communities worldwide. Ang mga specific na targets under SDG 16, I think obvious naman no, gi-explain na dito sa video. This would actually include reduction of all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere. Okay? And abuse, mga exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against and torture of children and everyone. Okay? Promote the rule of law or at the national and international levels and ensure equal access to justice for everyone or for all. Also by 2030, you should have reduced illicit financial and arms flow. We should have strengthened the recovery and return of stolen assets and combat all forms of organized na mga crimes. Okay? We should have reduced corruption and bribery in all forms. We should have developed mga effective, accountable, and transparent institutions at all level. Although right now, I'm not sure if we are really on track in, about reduction of corruption and bribery, and even mga transparent systems for our government institutions for us to know what's happening in our taxes at mga pambayad sa ang gobyerno. Broaden and strengthen the participation of developing countries in the institutions of global nga mga governance, and we should have provided a legal identity for everyone, including mga birth registration. Dapat tanan na legal identity. Okay? For citizenship, legal nga mga citizenship. And lastly, dapat everyone should have public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms. Apil na diri ang ato ang freedoms of speech, ato ang mga rights and responsibilities as citizens of a sovereign country. Okay? In accordance with the national legislation and international agreements. Okay? But we have varied definition about what peace is, but it should be addressed under our programs and initiatives under SDG 16. Okay? Apil na diri ang human rights, advocacy and protection, naman na natay Commission on Human Rights. We should have mga anti-corruption and transparency measures. Maybe what we can do is natay mga mga audit atong Commission on Audit are very transparent and vocal about unsay nahitabo sa mga different local government units para kabaw ang mga tao kung unsay gipang gamit sa atong government with regards to the taxes that we've been using, mga conflict prevention and peace building programs, or just in case if naay mga conflict to different areas, different regions in our country, it should have been addressed on legislative and executive level na ay peace building programs, especially sa na mga issues nato dito sa Mindanao, for example. It should have been addressed on legislative and executive level. So we should have created mga legislation programs that are citizen-centered. I don't know if you're familiar, pero siya human-centered in a way nga dapat ato ang mga policies, laws, and programs dapat based on the first-hand needs or real needs of people. Okay? So mao nang it's very important nga naay mga naay mga consulting bodies atong legislative areas. So unsa may mga possible consulting bodies, so natin mga representatives across different nga mga regions, different municipalities and provinces. Kay para kung unsay voice atong nga provinces, si representative may makabalo. Or another way for consulting body, maybe a group of lawyers nga maoy ga practice sa law ang mo-advise sa legislative body nga mauni siya ang unsay nahitabo nato sa ato ang mga lawyering systems nato right now in the Philippines, or to judicial system to promote equality, access to justice, or just nga mga systems for everyone. Okay? Mga capacity building for effective governance, promotion of freedom of information for everyone, and everyone should be given rights to vote, their voice be heard in any platform. Okay? So kana. Quick statistics, every day, 100 civilians are killed. By the way, sensitive information, trigger warning lang. Every day, 100 civilians are killed in armed conflicts despite protection under international law, which is still a pressing problem. This is even before COVID-19 pa nga statistics. So there is a steep rise in conflict-related civilian deaths, which with 50% surge in 2022, fueled by the war in Ukraine. So kanang mga disagreements with regards to our views in politics, religions, to certain positions, kana please as much as possible kanang there's a proper way really to argue with anyone. So kala because there has been a steep rise in conflict related civilian deaths in civilian cases alone. So kana I leave the other statistics na lang for everyone to read when I share this material. Basically, this is what SDG 16 is all about. Okay. Next is SDG 17, our last Sustainable Development Goal.
Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Union doesn't only create strength, it also avoids the weakness and the defeat that individualism causes. Carrying out alliances and collaborations between the different actors of the planet is fundamental to achieving the rest of the SDG. These alliances are constructed on the basis of principles and values, a shared vision and common aim that give priority to people and the planet, and that are necessary on a global, regional, and local scale. As well, it's necessary to encourage a more equal universal trade system. Every time there are more and more humanitarian crises that demand more levels of resources and financing help. Only through these alliances between actors and the reorientation of the most unfavorable areas can the objectives and sustainable development goals in the new global agenda be achieved. To achieve the sustainable development goals, we should all unite, governments, civil society, scientists, the academic world, and the private sector. Today, we are closer to achieving it than yesterday. This campaign is an example of strength of the alliances. It was born as a local project, and there are already 40 companies in 18 countries involving close to 500,000 people and more than 18,000 volunteers. Through your participation in this initiative, you can be an example for many to follow. You can be the person that changed things, that was remembered for a long time. You can invest part of your money and your time that you hadn't even thought about what to do with in an activity where someone will always thank you. Foreign aid, cooperation, and union is the biggest wave of human warmth in the world. What can we all do? 1, follow the local news and keep yourself up to date on the Sustainable Development Goals. They are real, and we are going to achieve them. You can be part of them in an active way through social media, inspiring your contacts. 2, make use of our right to choose our country and community leaders. Let's be conscious of who they are and what they are going to fulfill. 3, share our concerns with friends and family and unite to create a common action. For example, make calendars with the images of trips and assign the profits of sales for the needed people of that country. Together, everything is easier. 4, make and encourage volunteering as a value and participation tool. Choose your cause and, like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to achieve. 5, promote SDGs through available and free materials and volunteering programs.
Okay, so that's SDG 17, Partnership for the Goal. Actually, what we're doing right now, including the Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship in our curriculum, is already an initiative aiming for, enhancing partnerships and cooperation across different stakeholders for SDG 17. By the way, sa SDG 17, yung gi-underscore ang role sa partnerships, cooperation, and global solidarity in achieving the sustainable development goals and promoting mga sustainable development practices worldwide. So it emphasizes the need for collaboration between government, private sector, civil society, and other stakeholders to address the complex challenges faced by the global community. Okay? Mga specific targets ani is mga pag-strengthen sa itong mga domestic resources mobilization through international support to developing countries, improving domestic capacity for tax and other revenue collection as stated in the video. We also have enhancement of international support for implementing effective and targeted nga capacity planning, developing countries to support mga national plans. Dapat mo help ang other countries with regards to unsay kuwang unsay kuwang sa mga developing countries na pwede maka-help ang other countries, mga promotion of universal rule-based, open and non-discriminatory ang mga trading system under the World Trade Organization, enhancing global macroeconomic stability including policy coordination and policy coherence. Dapat ang mga policies nato in place, mga laws should be coherent with the international laws or in line with global stability for addressing global problems. So kana mobilizing mga additional financial resources for developing countries for multiple regions and providing assistance to developing countries in attaining long-term debt sustainability through coordinated policies aimed at fostering debt financing, debt relief, and debt restructuring as appropriate and address the external debt of highly indebted poor countries to reduce mga debt distress. Okay? So kana. Basically assistance of countries to other countries or partnerships basically and collaboration with different parties or different countries participating in the SDG. So quick statistics lang, international funding for data and statistics was $690 million in 2017, only half the level it needs to be. There has been funding, international funding for specifically for data and statistics, really for transparency, for reporting, for aid in decision making, because data is very important for decision making in a global perspective. So for that alone, $690 million na ang invest since 2017. And still only half pa ang invest about this. Okay, so some initiatives that are done in countries participating in the SDGs are mga official development assistance and aid effectiveness supporting initiatives to increase ODA, official development assistance to developing countries. So nasa tayo mga PPPs, mga public-private partnerships, encouraging partnerships between private and public sectors to mobilize resources, share expertise, and promote sustainable development projects, particularly in areas such as infrastructure development, health, and education. Okay, so we also have mga technology transfer and capacity building. So si CIT natin knowledge transfer, basically the same function siya, facilitating the transfer of technology and knowledge to developing countries and providing support for capacity building programs to enhance their ability to implement and achieve sustainable development goals. So kung sa ito'y expertise sa uban, sa technology sa ubang countries, pwede nila i-transfer diri sa Philippines nga wala ka for us to aid in our capacity building programs and activities. Okay, so we also have mga debt relief, sustainable financing, promoting initiatives that provide debt relief, mga utang for developing countries, and enhancing mga financing mechanisms in support for long-term development of our policies and initiatives. So we also have mga trade capacity building and market access. So providing support or trade capacity building initiatives in developing countries to enhance their participation in the global trades within mga export and import activities. So that's why it's being allowed para we can enhance our market access. Okay, mga multi-stakeholder partnerships, encouraging the formation of multi-stakeholders, mga sa educational sector natin, mga exchange students for sharing of knowledge, sharing of information, sharing of expertise, so or influence of the practices of other countries to us and us to them, so that's partnership for sustainable development. So another quick statistics, many developing countries are facing a debt crisis. 37 out of 69 of the world's poorest countries were in debt distress and at high risk of it. But wala tilabot na actually, wala 37. But I don't know right now with available data in 2023, but so far in 2022, wala pa ta na-appeal aning 37 out of 69 countries because we don't belong to the poorest countries man pa inside in the world. But they are at risk with the debt distress na dapat tabangunon with the participation of different countries under United Nations, under ODA. Okay, 2 in 3 people use the internet na. So, dagan nag-access sa internet. 215 million people, more than 459 million more male than female users. Mas daghan ang male users sa internet kaysa sa female. We should increase the access of people to internet because it's one way for us to mobilize market access, information access, and even knowledge, information access and knowledge. Yeah, it's practically the same. So ODA funding for data dropped by more than 20% in 2020. So nagamay ang investment for data and statistics. Again, what I like to emphasize, it's really important for our government systems to establish a data-driven mga mechanisms for decision making because data aids in would really make decision making quicker and would allow us kung asa nga areas sa ato ang systems ang problematic na dapat nato i-address. Okay, so that's SDG 14 to 17. Thank you so much for listening for our discussion, and I hope you have a great day ahead. And I hope I was able to share something to you that you will take in with you as you continue your journey as a student and as a professional later on. Okay, bye everyone.